Hi Year 9, hope you had a lovely weekend, a nice chilled out one, and hope you're looking forward to doing a bit of maths today. Today's title is Highest Common Factor and Lowest Common Multiple using Prime Factorisation, and today's date is the 28th of September, so maybe just pause the video quickly and make sure you got that date and title in your yellow book. Okay, so we're going to do the same format as last week. I'm going to go through two examples. The first one you can just watch through and make sure you've got it in your blue book. Again, this is going to be on the number system in your blue book, which starts on page 7. And then the second one, you're going to pause the video and have a go at it yourself, and then you can watch back and see how you got on. So, we've done some brilliant work already on highest common factor and lowest common multiple, where we write the factors of both numbers and we see which ones they've got in common, or we write the multiples of both numbers and see what they've got in common, find the highest or the lowest. And we've nailed that. But this is a bit of an extra fancy lesson on a method that will help you with some of those bigger numbers where you maybe don't know all the factors or don't know all the multiples. So the first one we're going to do is to find the HCF and LCM of 60 and 48. So this is going to be the one you go through in your blue book. Now step 1 is to do the prime factor decomposition of those two numbers. We did a lesson last week on prime factor decomposition. So the prime factor decomposition of 60, you might want to pause the video on this one. You have to pause the video on this one, but you might want to have a go at yourself now, or I'm going to do it now. When it's got a 0 on the end, I always like to start with 10. If I can do 10, I think that's a good one to start with. So I'm going to start with 6 and 10. Neither of those are prime, so I'm going to break them down a bit more. 6 breaks to 2, which is prime, and 3, which is prime, and 10 breaks to 2 and 5, which are both prime. So 60 is 2 times 2 times 3 times 5, or 2 squared times 5 if you prefer. Then I'm going to do 48. 48, I can't start with 10. So you might know some different ones in there. You might do 2 and 24. If you're not sure and it's an even number, you can always do 2 and something. I'm going to start with 4 and 12. Neither of those are primes, so I'm going to have to keep breaking them down. 4 breaks down to 2 and 2. They're both primes, so I'm going to circle them. 12 could do some different ways. I might do 2 and 6. Well, 2's prime, but 6 isn't, so I'm going to keep breaking it down. And 6 I can do into 2 and 3, and they're both prime, can't break them down anymore. So 48 is going to be 2 times 2 times 2, 1, 2, 3, 4 times 2 times 3. So that's step 1. Now step 2 is the cool bit. I'm going to rub the rest of the board off because I'm going to need the space. You'll obviously keep that in. You wouldn't rub that off as in your book because it's really important working. I'm just rubbing it out so I've got the space. Remember, you can go back and pause the video. If that was too quick and you need to copy that in, go back and pause the video. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a Venn diagram. I'm going to do it nice and big. I'm going to make sure the overlap section is nice and big as well. Sometimes you can do tiny little skinny overlap sections. Nice big overlap section, like that. I'm going to put 60 here and 48 here. And now I'm going to fill in the prime factors. But I have to make sure if it's got a prime factor more than once, it goes in more than once. I'm going to start in the middle. Which ones have they both got? Well, they've both got a 2. And they've both got a second 2. And they've both got a 3. Now I'm going to see what's left to go in each section. So in the 60 section, I still need to put a 5. And in the 48 section, I need to put 2 more 2s. Now is the fancy bit. Okay, this might seem a bit strange. We've all done prime factor decomposition. I think we can probably do the Venn diagram bit. So there's just one more bit. The highest common factor is just the combination of all the numbers in the middle section. highest common factor is going to be 2 times 2 times 3, which is 12. The lowest common multiple is going to be all of the numbers in the whole thing, including the middle, multiplied together. So the lowest common multiple is 5 times 2 times 2 times 3 times 2 times 2. If I do that, well, 5 times 2 is 10. 10 times 2 is 20. 20 times 3 is 60. 60 times 2 is 120. And 120 times 2 is 240. So the lowest common multiple is 240. If we really wanted to, we could have written out the factors, or we could have written out the multiples, but this method's quite nice for those bigger, trickier numbers. We're going to do one more now. Hopefully you've got that in your bluey book. Make sure you just pause the video briefly. You just need to get the last bit in. Chop this off. Now you're going to do this next one. You're going to do the same method. Find the lowest common multiple of 175. So step 1, do the factor trees and the prime factorisation. Step 2, put them in the Venn diagram. Step 3, times together all of the middle section for the highest common factor. And step 4, times together all of the numbers for the lowest common multiple. So pause the video, have a few minutes to have a go at that now. Okay, hopefully you've had a good go at that. Maybe you found it easy, maybe you struggled. But let's go through it together now. So I'm going to start with 100. I always like to start with a 10 on these if I can. So 100 is 10 times 10. And it's quite nice, this one. It's nice and symmetrical, this one. 10 times 10. 10 is 2 times 5. And they're both prime. I'm going to make it really symmetrical. And do this side is 5 times 2. You might not have started with 10 and 10. You might start with 50 and 2. Or 4 and 25. And that's still fine. Okay, you still should have got, as your final answer, 100 is 2 times 2 times 5 times 5, or 2 squared times 5 squared. And I'm going to do 75. On 75, I can't do 10 on this one. It does end in a 5, so I know that 5 goes into it, but I'm not sure how many times. So I'm going to do a bit of bus stop. Oh, that's a 2. 5 into 7 go once, remainder 2. 5 into 25 goes 5 times. So I'm going to do 5 and 15. Some of you might have done 3 and 25. I'm going to do 5 and 15. 5 is prime, but 15 isn't prime. But I can split it into 3 and 5, which both are prime. Okay, and now that leaves me with 75 equals 3 times 5 times 5. Again, this is a really important bit of the working. You should still keep that in your book. I'm going to rub it off here just because I don't have the space on my board. I'm going to draw my Venn diagram. Oh, it's a bit small, but I'm sure we can make it work. Your Venn diagrams will be much less ugly than mine, I'm sure. Right, start with that middle section. So the middle section, I can see I should have a 5 and another 5. Right, then the 100 section, well the 100 still needs a 2 and a 2. And the 75 section still needs a 3. Right, and then that last step then, the highest common factor is just the product of the middle numbers, which is a 5 and a 5. And the lowest common multiple is all of the numbers multiplied together. So it's going to be 2 times 2 times 5 times 5 times 3. And again, you might use your calculator for this bit, but I think we can do this one. 2 times 2 is 4, times 5 is 20, times 5 is 100, times 3 is 300. So the lowest common multiple is 300. Really well done if you managed to get that one on your second go. Bit of a longer one this time, so you might not get quite as many questions as done on the ones last week. Obviously just work for the right amount of time because you've got 4 other subjects to do for today, but hopefully you can have a good go at that task. Have a lovely day, and I'll see you later on.